I think maybe two people probably have done that, right?
Ed's got the floor here, gang. Let's let Ed continue.
No, my question was it was fairly serious. I mean, what if we don't agree? Can I ask you a different? What if we, Brookfield, don't agree with this approach, this way of doing things, and?
Well, remember, we had the representative from Stratford Regional Planning.
Well, I can answer that question.
Just
quickly restate the question.
What can we do if we disagree with this general approach of supporting this?
Okay, I asked
the craziness of sending money to the federal government to be sent back to us with all the strings attached.
I asked the same exact question. And my answer, the answer I was given was basically, it is a federal mandate. Therefore, you don't have a choice. Now, you can say that if this doesn't apply to us because we don't have an economic incentive to do it, there's a lot of different ways. But it's a federal mandate to do these things because of this executive order. So the financiers are taken from your pocket, sent to the federal government, and it's redistributed out to towns and cities that need it. Now, if you are a large city that needs a new pumping station for your sewage treatment plant and you don't have any money, your incentive is the EDA will get you a grant. If you can show that it's going to help the environment, it's going to save jobs and promote it. Because if you read the Sustainable Development President's Council it'll say that economic stability is one of its mantras. So that's why they're saying it's mandated.
And the way we get around being an outsider is we don't accept or apply for any of their grants. Therefore, we don't have to sign up for any of these memberships that are due. We just have to pour it out of our pockets.
We have to fund all the craziness. We don't have to take any money from it.
That's right.
Okay.
Now, I would encourage everybody to read. If you go to 15, this is the letter that we got. So this is the letter that we received. And it says, Dear Municipal Officer, Stratford Regional Planning Commission, the SRPC, has completed the 2011-2016 Stratford Regional Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, also known as SEEDS. The SEEDS is a continuous regional planning process addressing the economic opportunities and constraints of an area. Now, Brookfield may not fall into that because of our rural environment, but if you're a city and you're short of money, they're going for those grants and getting it. Because if you go to page 16, where it explains from the Regional Stratford Planning Commission's document, it explains infrastructure improvements, industrial park development, sewer water capacity upgrades, road, bridge, or airport construction work, and planning studies. The planning studies, the study that they use to see if they can make that rail to trail actually happen, and that if it fits with the parameters of fostering sustainable development, they were allowed to use grant money to do the planning study. So they actually used federal money in order to just do the study. So they're using it for that. If it says past successful applicants from New Hampshire, these are the towns: town of Berlin, town of Hampton, Pease Port, down on 16, the town of Epping, Dartmouth Regional Technology Center. So people are applying for these grants in order to get the money back from the federal government. Now, where the EDA money comes from, it comes from your tax money, and it also comes from public and private partnerships. People say, what the heck is a public-private partnership? Any nonprofit that wishes to foster sustainable development could gather their own funding together and combine it with federal money, and it'll be allocated through the EDA to whatever town needs. So,
and why is this a bad thing?
He didn't say it was wrong. Yeah.
No, I'm curious. Is this a bad thing, or is this a good thing?
It depends on what it is, and I'm not really going to give it my own personal opinion on
Well,
that now, but
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but towns are getting grants from the federal government to do economic growth, economic development, to fund their pet projects. Some people will say, well, that's terrible because it's taking money away from the taxpayers that can't afford to give it. And others will say, well, it's great because the town, the people in that town, it's great because we didn't have to pay for it all by ourselves. The rest of the United States paid for it. So how does this grant money tie in with Agenda 21 and the global issues that face the United States through the United Nations?
How does it tie into it? It ties into it because everything that's done past this President's Council on Sustainable Development is all this international agreement.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it ties back to it.
And why is that bad?
It's bad because our republic is not a democracy, it's a representative republic. We are a bottom-up. This is a top-down.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything that happened, in 1993, when this President's Council on Sustainable Development was formed, it also started up down a hill, down a road that started NARC. I talked about NARC before, which is the National Association of Regional Councils. It expanded the educational powers of the American Planning Association. People think the American Planning Association is a government organization. It is not. Their sole purpose is to foster sustainable development. If you go to their document, this is the quality improvement plan of the Stratford Regional Planning Commission. And it says right on the bottom, planning and action for sustainable development and improved quality of life. That sentence is taken right from this document of Agenda 21. Every one of your federal offices, EDA, FDA, everything, all has a sustainability component to it. Go on their website. I'm not making it up. It says it right there.
So nobody voted for this, this is shut down.
It
Top
really
down.
says top down. Now,
Well, may I just bust in for a second? My curiosity is, I understand what you're saying about how this all links together and the grant money, and that how initiatives seem to be being pushed from the very top all the way down to steer us, or as they say, nudge,
To
into
foster
go into a
sustainability.
certain way. But does the comprehensive economic development strategy that has been just produced have anything specific in mind for Brookfield? Are they saying, gee, now that we got 16 being ramped up down further on the Spalding, it's going to be more traffic up here, it'd be really nice if you guys did this. Did they say anything like that?
These are resources that are available to us.
Okay.
They are there to help us.
Mhm.
But the only way we get the help and the money is to make sure it follows the guidelines to foster sustainable development.
Sure.
That's it. If it doesn't, say you want to put a racetrack in, or a diesel truck racetrack, most likely, even though it's going to help economically, they're not going to approve it because it is
It doesn't
environmentally damaging.
Fit into their
It
strategy.
doesn't fit
Sure.
into the strategy, so
No biodiesel.
Ooh, that's-
Yeah, you never know.
I could approach them with a biodiesel
How about-
racetrack.
How about moonshine?
You could do-
Pure alcohol.
Ed?
Yes.
So if I understand correctly, our federal taxes, so we're paying taxes up to the federal government, they're creating these grants, the bureaucracy that is deciding who gets what. We've got Stratford Regional Planning Commission helping us get those grants. Wouldn't it be better, wouldn't it be more fair if we actually funneled that money up to the United Nations and have the United Nations?
What do you think the
Do the
United
grants?
Nations money's
I have an answer to that.
I mean, if it's good to send it to the federal government, wouldn't it be better to send it to the global government? Wouldn't that be more
We
fair?
we actually support the United Nations and send them money
No, I
on
understand.
top
we
of
pay
the
our
other
dues.
money. So we're double paying for these projects.
I believe we pay federal dollars. I believe we pay about 11, I'm not positive, I believe it's $11 billion.
No, I understand, but I mean, shouldn't these grants be administered by the UN? And so we would make application to the UN for grant money
No, the reason
and,
why
and make it fair worldwide.
Reasonably so.
I have an answer to that too. The reason why they had to create, all states, you will find one of these, you will find a President's Council of Sustainable Development in every single country who signed on to Agenda 21. You will see it. France has one, Australia has one, New Zealand has one, they all have one. Because legally, you cannot send money to the UN and then come back and tell your town to do something. It has to go through our federal system. They're using our own laws in order to not push us, to foster sustainable development. That's what they're doing. So we cannot give our money directly to the UN. It has to go to our federal. And since they signed on to Agenda 21, the only way they could do it is to create this executive order.
So can we just let the UN tax us?
Not at this time.
I think we're getting a little off topic. I believe Booney's got a question over there.
What are we to do? What are we, Brookfield's planning board, members and alternates, what are we to do with Stratford Regional Planning Commission?
Well, I don't want to move into my opinion yet until I sit down and...
You're our representative, too. The town's representative.
What I would do now, if we're just talking about seeds, I only gave this backdrop, or this background of timeline, is because nobody talks about this timeline.
No.
And from the town I came from, I was basically almost sued for libel, because I started mentioning this stuff. And I was warned, do not mention these items unless you have the facts to back you up. I have all the facts, so I'm not talking about conspiracy, I'm not talking about opinion. These are facts. Anybody can come down and look at these books, and they have to admit that they exist and that they're doing it, but they will not say it. Because if they do, if the voter knew where those came from, they would refuse it.
Okay.
But if we stick on the comprehensive economic development strategy, as a town, do you feel that there is any project that we would like to have grants written for to get money for? Is there any? Do we know?
Well,
No.
I can't think of any, but the way this strikes me, and this is just my opinion, I don't want to speak for the whole board just because I'm sitting in this chair, is that this is one of those classic catch-22s, that the vision has been created somewhere else for the way society might run best, or more efficiently, or make people generally happier. Somebody else's vision that came outside of the town of Brookfield, that they feel, whoever they is a good idea. And through these series of many different steps, which the federal government have signed on to back in '93 and through the regional and everything, it boils right down to us, and our connection to it is through the Regional Planning Commission for this economic development strategy, that the noose has been put there. Should we choose to stick our head in it, that's a different question for the town of Brookfield. And I think what's most important about this is that you presented this to us and that we understand where it all came from, whether it's this board or the selectmen or anybody out there that may have interaction with a grant coming through this. Because it's whenever you deal with the feds, there's always strings attached. Whether you choose to take on grant money, sometimes they have targets for emissions on this and that. I mean, I can't speak specifically, but I think it's fairly well understood that when you apply for somebody else's money, they're going to have you do things for it. And I think it's important that you brought this before the board to get to this point. But my big concern is, does this all extend down to the point where they've said, okay, this is the regional planning area, Stratford Regional Planning, that we are required by law to participate in as a town? Are they looking to change the way we live? Are they looking, like, I've heard bits and pieces of that. Go ahead, please.
No, what's that one in here on redistribution? What's that chapter?
Well,
There's 40 chapters in there.
I know, I'm trying to think. I don't have mine with me because I have it highlighted.
I believe it's in the preamble.
Well,
I should have it.
I don't think anybody would be so bold at the United Nations or the Presidential Council of Sustainable Development saying, hey, we're going to force you to write a check for X, Y, or Z, but it seems like we as a town at all levels need to be very, very wary of this, because of we do our 10-year master plan, or every few year master plan for development. I've heard stories that when that process went through last time, there were a number of suggestions that were continuously made by people outside this town from a certain regional planning commission
on those are not stories.
Yes, and I wasn't there, so I can only say